Back with another episode of Local Roots. Hi, I'm Todd Studer. Hope you had a fantastic weekend. I know I sure did. And the weather, after kind of a rainy and drizzly and high humidity, cold Friday afternoon, everything cleared off. And Winterfest in Council Bluffs was a ton of fun. And at the Masonic Lodge, if you didn't watch the morning coffee show already, then I'll just fill you in here. We're estimating we had 750 people come through and get hot chocolate and cider and cookies there at the lodge. It was a great time, and thank you to everybody who came out. It was just such a wonderful event, and I'm looking forward to next year's Winterfest. This was the 10th annual, so again, thank you to everyone who helped put that together. Today on Local Roots, we are going to head a little bit farther to the south and east and actually make it all the way to Montgomery County to talk with someone who is helping small businesses all around southwest Iowa. His name is Joey Norris, and he has created a business called Dream Forge. And what he's doing is he's helping people forge ahead with their business dreams and helping them when it comes to how to create a business for some tangible thing that you can hold in your hands that you want to be able to sell. So Joey Norris, lots of great information. And if you have an idea that say, I've always had this idea and I think it would make a great business or at least something to sell, this is the podcast that you want to listen to. Joey Norris has experience helping a lot of different businesses. So he'll be our guest today, coming up on Local Roots. We also want to remind you that if you have a leak, a clogged drain, or if you're planning a big remodel, Waldstein Plumbing has you covered with fast, reliable service and expert craftsmanship, handling everything from small repairs to major installations. And have you had your furnace checked yet? I'm hoping that you have, but if things, you're going to want to make sure that everything is working correctly before it really gets cold. Air Serv Heating and Air Conditioning in Council Bluffs can come out and do a complete inspection, make sure everything is correct. So those two websites, waldsteinplumbing.com, airservcouncilbluffs.com. When integrity matters and when doesn't it, these are the guys that you want to call. Coming up this Saturday will be Small Business Saturday, and we're going to be talking about it all week. Actually, on both shows we'll be talking about it. That on Saturday, I'm going to be going around and doing live Facebook reports from some small businesses in our area. And one of the small businesses that will be open is in Neola, the Unique Boutique. Jamie Bush is open at 101 4th Street, and she is your destination for trendy clothing, accessories, and distinctive gifts. You're going to want to be sure to stop in on Saturday, make it part of your small business Saturday routine and on your route. Looking forward to seeing you there. She has a website. You can shop 24 hours a day, shopubiowa.com. Another great small business is Frosting Inc. in Walnut, your hometown stop for irresistible holiday treats and unique local gifts. Pre-order now from the Christmas menu and don't miss the customer favorite chocolate-covered cherries. They sell out every year. Frosting Inc. is open Wednesday through Saturday, so she's going to be open on Small Business Saturday. What a great way to stop in and get a little refreshment. Fresh baked sweets, custom orders, merchandise from local vendors. They all make the perfect gifts. Plus, you can find them at craft fairs across the area, spreading holiday cheer one treat at a time. Make your holiday sweeter with Frosting Inc. in Walnut. Joining us this morning, we are traveling from Council Bluffs to the south and to the east into Montgomery County and the community of Red Oak to talk with Joey Norris, who has a company there called Dream Forge. So I guess, Joey, that means that you're a metal worker working in a forge, right?
Yeah, I guess the forge is more of imagery. So
okay,
that makes dream and the forge they'll work pretty well together. So
or maybe forge forward.
Oh,
would
sure.
that be that would probably be a more accurate way to put it. Great to have you. Thank you so much for your time doing this. You and I had a little bit of difficulty making connections just because neither one of us could actually stay healthy. So, but we managed to get this together. Tell me about Dreamforge. It's a cool name, but what does it mean? What does your company do?
Yeah, when you put it together, it can be a little aloof, but when you break it down, so people bring us their dreams and we forge them into functional products. So we work with early stage entrepreneurs in the physical product development area. So we do a lot of 3D printing, CNC machining, all in that early stage product development world. So prototypes, proofs of concepts, feasibility studies. You have an idea. Most people do. something rattling around in the back of your head that you've thought of for 30 years or more. We help you with 10 years of experience figure out how to make it, and then usually how to hand you off to like a manufacturer to make it at scale.
Oftentimes I think that's a huge hurdle for people because yeah, they can have a great idea, but where do you go from there? How do we make this? How do we create a prototype that we can even test to see if this is going to work the way that we want it to work? I'm assuming it's probably a little more than, hey, we're generating coffee mugs.
Well, you never know. We've had something as simple as a pedicure station, all the way up to as complicated as an entire drone built for different branches of the government. So it can be simple, it can be big.
Wow.
Hay trailers to automatic watering systems to flagpole raisers, you name it.
Has anything ever crossed your desk and you asked yourself, all right, how are we going to pull this one off? This is not anything I've ever considered before.
Yeah, we like to be positive. I have a two-part mantra. The first one is help first, and the second one is fail fast. Because a lot of people can dump their life savings into an idea that they think is really cool, and then it turns out it just would never be a good market fit or feasible physically. So we focus on the physical feasibility of things. We help you make sure that it can be made, how it should be made, how it should be made most effectively. But at the end of the day, if you don't fail fast in finding who wants to pay for this thing, whatever your widget is, whatever your idea is, if nobody wants to pay for it for something that can actually make you money to produce it, it's not going to go anywhere. So yeah, we see some things come across our desk. We're like, oh, that's really cool, but I'm pretty skeptical whether or not anybody's going to want to pay what it will cost to make that thing. So
How about in a case like that, would it be just making a minor adjustment? I mean, does that sometimes play into it?
it can, yeah. If you want to, a word that my father taught me not to use is cheap. You can be, like if a service can be less expensive
Mhm.
or it could be cost effective, but it's never cheap unless you also, you know, watered down the value. And a lot for some people, when the market fit is cost prohibitive, we can make a literally a cheaper version. So it's going to break faster. It's going to be made out of worse materials, things like that. But then you also then end up changing your market. If people don't want to buy the Wish.com, Amazon, cheap knockoff of something, if they want a high quality product, then sometimes you just can't make it.
Kind of sounds like a difference between using. I'm going to give some free plugs here. Like Neiman Marcus to be able to store it on a shelf versus Dollar Tree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we've at that Rev pitch competition we had the other day, the SBDC was there, the Small Business Development Center.
Mhm.
We'll give them a free plug for them too. I found a lot of success partnering with them because it's their job on behalf of the federal government to provide business services, and it's oftentimes my clients who I call the 9 to 5 dreamers. So they have a 9 to 5 job and they're trying to make a product that's always been rattling around. They typically don't have a lot of business experience. And so if we can get them help establishing what their market looks like, how to do that customer validation, how to build out their on-ramp to a go-to-market strategy, they can do that with somebody else. And then we just focus on building the cool thing for them and figuring out how to make it at scale for a cost-effective price. And that's a beautiful relationship.
I've talked with people in similar lines of work, not specifically what it is that you do. And this is what I find fascinating about it is that you really have created double work for yourself because you are helping other businesses inside of their business, but you still have a business to run.
Mm-hmm.
And so your mind has to constantly be moving in and out and around to make sure that what you're doing business wise is being effective to grow what your side of it is. And I don't know how you keep it all straight, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I tell you, I'm not a terribly great businessman. I'm a very good engineer, and I've had to switch those roles. I've been in business for 10 years as of October of this year, and it is a struggle because I get lost in the startup excitement. The reason why we stayed in this niche of the startup ecosystem for so long is because I I get a lot of value off of seeing those people that want to start their own thing, being able to get off the W-2 payroll of some other company that they've been working for and start their own business, start their own enterprise in some way and do the thing that they've always wanted to do. So I do struggle to keep it straight sometimes too, because I'm at the table with the founders in their pitch competitions, when they go to investors, when they're talking with their board of directors, if they get that far on how to build their companies, I'm right there with them, typically as an advisor or as their lead engineer.
Did the concept for this start with some type of product of your own that you were working on, or how did you get to where you're at now?
Yeah, a couple of my own failures along the way where I learned that mantra of failing fast. But it actually started. I have a degree in aerospace engineering from Iowa State, and we helped to start their a lab space there where we got to build things called the Make to Innovate Lab. And I was the first tranche of employees when we renovated that lab. And part of my job there, this was 12 years ago, 13 years ago, was to help on campus organizations through the engineering department, mostly the aerospace, but other engineering departments, with their student projects. So they were building things. They were building an automatic sailboat. They were building CubeSat, a very small scale satellite, a bunch of solar powered plane, things like that. Those were all happening inside of this Make to Innovate lab space. And not to toot my own horn, but some of the aerospace department has some of the smartest people on campus in there, and they did not, they did not know how to build things. They did not know how to actually put them together, how to source the materials, how to lay out a project to actually build the thing. They could come up with a theory, they could come up with the use case, why it needed to exist, but they could not build them. And I thought if these folks on campus don't know how to do that, I bet most people don't. And it turned out to be true. We started 10 years ago with a nationwide footprint. I was online before COVID, before it was cool, using Google Meet and Microsoft Teams and all those things to connect with people around the country, to talk to them about their idea. And then we mostly just do digital drawings and things at that time, especially. And so we would just send them the models and get feedback and make payments over the internet. So we were distributed and online before it was cool.
You were going, as you said, a lot wider of a potential client base, but as you've told me, you kind of narrowed that down now, haven't you? You're not marketing yourself to every corner of the world.
Yeah, we did try the international clients. It just gets a little sticky with all the intellectual property you work on, and there's a big component of trust on both sides of the camera. You need to be able to look the client in the eye and talk about how serious they are, and they need to know that you're there and reachable, because there is a lot of scammers in this area of the world, telling you have a good idea for money and then not actually follow through on helping you any. So we did have a larger footprint, but honestly, it is not really entirely my doing. I really appreciate being more Midwest focused now, especially Iowa focused, but it is largely because of the ecosystem that's been built in Iowa and across the Silicon Prairie of the Midwest. Nebraska has a lot of good opportunities as well, although I'm not quite as plugged in over there. Um, they've built this ecosystem specifically to help entrepreneurs, and it's trickled into the early stage a lot, because you see Series A, Series B, follow-on investments at post-seed investment. You can find that just about anywhere, but Iowa has really focused on the early stage investments. We have an entire continuum of proof of concepts to development funding through the state. It's state funded. And I've really seen a lot of success connecting with those people that want to be in those programs. And so I'm kind of an on ramp. I hold their hand a little, tell them how to do it, do the due diligence of like a prototype and things like that to get them ready for those programs. And a big one, I mentioned the SBDC. They were really forward looking in an Iowa specific program called the Rural Business Innovators. And so they said we have enough resources distributed in Des Moines and maybe Council Bluffs. I'm not sure if you feel that, but we focus enough on the big tech corridors of the eastern side of the state and the central part of the state. And so what we want to do is go out into the rural communities, and that really resonated with me. starting by Ethan Pitts and then Ray Hansen and now Mitchell Kearns. And they've just really championed this idea that you want to look into the rural communities specifically to help build things there. Because the entire reason, well, one of the big reasons why I came back to Red Oak after graduating in Ames was that I have a really low overhead cost to start and grow my business. I can own my building. I can live and grow right here, and I can compete with people that are in Minneapolis and on the coasts of the country and in St. Louis and Kansas City who have a much higher overhead. So I'm able to focus on delivering a quality product at a price that's affordable for these people that are in the early stage. They don't have the big bucks yet. They haven't gone through a big investor raise to be able to afford everything, every little detail. So I can make things cost effective for them, so we can get more done.
That's a fascinating point. It's something that I hadn't really thought of, because, a lot of your stuff is done, as you said, online, and you can have meetings online and that type of thing. And you have, slashed your own overhead by living in an area, which you obviously love. I mean, I don't want to say that, you're just going there for financial reasons. There's a reason why you're in Red Oak past this step.
Right?
Yeah, both things can be true at the same time.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, but you used a term that I have heard before. And it was really the CEO at the AIM Institute that kind of normalized that term for me, and it's the Silicon Prairie.
Yeah.
Is that something that we typically just use in the Midwest, or are we well known enough now for this type of thing outside of the Midwest that everybody is using that term now?
I don't know if I'm qualified to say everybody. However, we are known for it now. I was just at an angel investor summit earlier this week on Tuesday up in Des Moines. And there's people from all over the country there, from the coasts, from Colorado, from Minnesota, and that term was thrown around a few times. So I think we're being known for it. We're not making the chips. We're not making the actual silicone chips that like the coasts are in Arizona, right, and things like that. So, but the term Silicon Prairie is much more amalgamous with just the startup culture in general. So if you want to build a new business and pursue a disruptive technology or a disruptive idea, Iowa, Nebraska, Minnesota, we are known for being that Silicon Prairie of investment in new ideas.
I think that that's the type of thing that it almost takes on a life of its own. I mean, you can try to create it, but I don't know that you can successfully do that. It just kind of has to happen naturally as more people, for whatever reason, in your line of work and other folks that are inventors and creators have kind of just gravitated towards the same region. And for whatever reason, maybe they don't even know the full reason why. It's just, hey, this kind of feels right. And that's how something like that grows.
Yeah, that's definitely how it started, Todd. But like, I cannot, and I'm not the most articulate at telling you why, but I've seen it over the last 10 years, this ecosystem grow. It was because people planted the seeds a long time ago and nurtured those ideas. And now we're on the verge of a flourish in this early stage ecosystem in Iowa specifically. And Nebraska has followed along as well too. They have the Nebraska Enterprise Fund over there. They have the Nebraska Prototyping Continuum. So they're also following in on helping these early folks. Because, what you'll see is, this, I'm pulling this statistic, out of the air here, but 9 out of 10 of these ideas fail. And I've seen about a 60 to 70% failure rate in my business. Most people don't make it. But those 1 or 2 ideas that do make it are typically, they go gangbusters. They totally disrupt a field. They create an entirely new market. They do something radical, and it takes an investment because people don't. Not everybody has the ability to invest in such a risky endeavor, right? 9 out of 10 are going to fail. I've seen 60 to 70 fail. Who wants to put money behind a mostly losing bet? It takes a building of that ecosystem to distribute that risk and then make it a little more approachable for people to say, well, I saw this guy try and fail, and I saw her succeed, and maybe I can take a shot at it.
Is this something that if somebody has an idea, from your vantage point, is it either an up or down for this one person with this one product and then they're out of the field forever? Or are they coming up with additional ideas that, okay, this one didn't work, but I've got another one and I want to try this.
Oh yeah, you yeah, your instincts are good there. I have very seldom is it a one and done. There have been some folks that it's their baby and they love the idea, and when it doesn't succeed, they don't want to try again. But that's not typical. So this is the business side of my mantra. It's help first because I'm an Eagle Scout. Being helpful is one of my 12-part law that I practice every day. But being helpful also works in a business sense. When you're helpful with that first one, when you're helpful with the little idea that they're just gingerly bringing to market, they typically have a lot more other ideas later. So it takes some massaging to help them sometimes. Once we get a non-disclosure agreement in place, we can talk about just about anything in their ideas. I can help them nurture or help them massage those ideas into what's the most practical one. Which one can we tackle first? But they almost always have other ideas later. Even the ones that fail, they'll say, "Okay, well that one didn't work. How about this thing?"
Well, you used something. You talked earlier about not liking the word cheap. And I'm just going to throw this out there for you that I don't like the word fail, because to me, it's not failing. It's just hasn't worked yet. We just haven't gotten there yet. And even if it is not the same product, and listen, I'm not in the world of tangible, hold it in your hands products that can be sit on a shelf. I'm essentially in the service industry.
Sure.
I provide a service for people. And my product most of the time is my voice. I get paid to, as an old radio buddy of mine used to describe it, we get paid to sit in a tiny room and talk to invisible people. That's what we do. And when I first started the company, and I had a company called Todd Studer Productions, and I thought that I'm going to record audiobooks. So my daily job is going to be auditioning for audiobooks. And there's platforms to be able to do that. And then I get paid when people say yes and they hire me to be able to do that. And that's what I thought my job was. It didn't work because I found out that as I got these jobs, I hate recording audiobooks. It's horrible work and I don't want to do it. So I pivoted from there and went somewhere else, but I didn't fail at recording audiobooks. I got more information.
Right.
And I found out that what I thought was true at the time wasn't true after I got more information. And I think that's what you're helping people do. A big part of your job, if I'm reading this right, is you're helping people find out more about their product, about the desire for the product, about the marketability for the product. And just because they found out more information later doesn't mean they had that information at the time when they started it. So that's my impression of it, but I'm fully open to hearing why, well, that's not really right.
No, I think
I've been wrong
right,
plenty of times.
yeah, you nailed it right on the head. I think, there's a lot of nuance there, but
Yeah.
I also got to push back a little bit. Some things are failures. And though it sucks to hear the word, we got to acknowledge it and move on. Because a lot of people say, well, if there's a chance of failure, I'm not even going to try. And if you twist it and say, if you reframe it and say, yeah, there is no failure so long as you learn, which I agree with you 100%. The idea still did fail, right? And that's okay. You learned from it. You failed. You learned. Now you're doing it better. So long as that whole process happens, that's great. But there is failure, and we shouldn't be afraid of it. So long as we set it up so it's not crippling. We never expose ourselves to so much risk that it will cripple us. We can do it in smart ways. We can find ways to diversify. One of the smarter ways to help my clients do that, but it hasn't always worked out for me, is I do sometimes take equity. I'm a mostly cash for services business. People pay me for my advice and pay me for the products I make for them. But in the nature of the world I live in that early stage ecosystem, some people don't have money, or they're smart enough to not want to risk all of their money. And so I'll take some equity in the idea. And so while I'm working on it, I'm working to build a product that I'm going to earn money from. So there's a little bit of a more of an incentive for me as well. But that, typically I just end up working for free on an idea that doesn't go anywhere. But I consider myself a big boy, and I can make that risk if I want to.
Yeah, there's obviously anything that you do, and especially if you're putting yourself out there, there's risk involved. This may work, this may not work, but I'm a huge believer that always bet on yourself,
Yeah.
always. And another thing, to make the argument more about what you were saying is, saying that I'm sure that you've heard, and it's kind of been a mantra of mine for a while too, is that, if you want to succeed, you have to increase your fail rate. And you already said it. Don't be afraid of that. Don't be afraid of things not working out, because the faster that you can get there, the faster you're moving forward, and you're on to, it could just be a one-off. It could be a complete 180. You don't know. But again, you need the information in order to get there. And it's cool that there's guys like you out there doing this kind of business, helping people get there, because, as we had spoken before, I've had this idea rattling around in my head for decades that I've never done anything with. And is it feasible? Is it something that could actually be brought to market? I have no idea, because I've never taken it past just this image in my head of what it is. So who knows? Who knows if it could work or not?
Yeah. And that's the thought. Just about everybody has that. Some people are embarrassed to talk about it. Some people have tried a little bit on their own and don't want to reapproach it. Some people just think, oh, not me. It's big ideas are for other people. And I think that's hogwash. Big ideas happen in small towns across America. They happen in big cities. They happen everywhere. It just takes a little bit of talking about it, understanding what the process is, and then pulling the trigger and jumping in.
How are you finding those folks right now? Or are they just finding you? I mean, how is that working for you?
Yeah, right now it's mostly word of mouth through the network I've built over 10 years. I don't do any advertising anymore. It's not to talk to somebody who makes a living off advertising.
No. Hey, listen, I am understand that completely. It's I have talked to a lot of people, and occasionally I find people that, what I do wouldn't really be of a service to you, because, it's not a fit. I once, I remember the first time that happened, I had guests coming in on a podcast, and I'm always thinking, hey, you would be a great podcast. We could have a great podcast. He had an international shipping company, and his story was fascinating, but there's no way that would be something that would work for him, other than just being able to sit down and talk and tell his story. It might be fun, but I don't see how that could ever really be a benefit to his business. So yeah, for me personally, and I'm guessing you're probably the same way, that if this is not something that I feel can be a benefit to you and I can actually provide value to you, we're not going to go down that road, because I don't want maybe I have the skill to talk you into doing something that you think wouldn't work anyway, but then we have the potential of things not working out, and that's a new hurdle to overcome for me. So I just, I want to make sure that I know that it's going to work before I try to talk somebody into it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And that's the rub of being in business for yourself.
Yeah.
Right. You're the CEO, the COO, the chief sales, the director of whatever the process is to make these videos and these podcasts, right? That you wear all the hats, and it took me a long time to learn that paying other people to do the parts that I suck at makes everybody happier. And that's true with my instinct is to try and help, but sometimes helping is to say no. If somebody comes to me with an idea and I cannot help them, but I might be able to convince them to pay me $1,000 for a feasibility study, maybe it's just say, take this to the SBDC or bat it around with somebody in the business world first, because I don't think that, your money is going to be well spent with me. And it takes some maturity to figure that out, because, you're in business to make money.
No, I've had that exact.
Money can be smart sometimes.
I've had that exact conversation with people that, their idea or their budget isn't really a fit for what it is that I do. And I will say, look, I would be happy to take a donation from you, but it's not going to work. Because it's not what I do, and it's not a fit, and the frequency of which they're able to do, it wouldn't work. You'd be better off spending your money here where you can get more value for that level as opposed to coming this direction. And yeah, it's difficult to have that conversation because it feels like I am walking away from dollar signs.
Right.
But really what I'm doing is making sure that, because one of the core values of what it is that I do is it has to make sense for the client before it makes sense for me. And because if the first one doesn't exist, then it will never make sense for me. And I have to make sure that I honor that. And as I said, I'm thrilled that you're out there and doing this kind of thing. And plus, you're in Red Oak, small community in Southwest Iowa. It is so cool to see folks making a success. And we're seeing such growth in our corner of the state and in the different communities. Red Oak's a pretty vibrant community.
Yeah.
And, they've got the Chamber of Commerce is very active down there. And you've got a great local radio station that really focuses on the community itself, which is not a common thing anymore in that particular industry. There's a lot of things going right where you're at. So it's easy to see why it is that you want to live there and while still doing business in other areas. So very cool that you're creating this. I think you should hopefully are inspiring others just from that aspect.
Yeah, I hope so too. It's tough to convince people to do that, but we have on Wednesday, today's Friday. Yeah, on Wednesday we had our Heart and Soul event in Red Oak. So it was all focused on the community and building a community action plan. I've been blessed to be able to be a part of that process as well. These small communities have a lot of advantages, and leaning into those advantages, to me, to you, to a lot of folks I'm sure that listen to you, it's a no-brainer. We live here for a reason. It's just about building that momentum. I think good things are happening across Southwest Iowa, and they will continue to.
If somebody has an idea, Joey, and they want to learn more about what it is that you do, how do they get in touch with you? What's the best way to do it?
The best way is to call me. You call or text 515-497-0207. I also have a website, dreamforge.us. And then I am on socials, but I don't really use them. So you can get connected to me through there, but forgive me, I'm a terrible millennial.
Well, if you look down at the link on the description to this episode that you're watching right now, you'll see that contact information that Joey just talked about. Grateful for your time, sir. Thank you for jumping on here and talking, and we can learn a little bit more about you. As I told you very early on, as we were just kind of getting connected, I'm a huge fan of all entrepreneurs, and especially those that are in a world that I haven't thought about, and that's what you're in. And you're out there making it happen because you have a skill that you can bring to people, and you've meshed that in with a business concept. And it's great to see. I'm always excited when I get a chance to talk about success stories. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Todd. Thanks for hosting me.
Service Master Restored by Schmader knows it can be hard to get back to normal when you've suffered serious property damage due to flooding, fire, or smoke. But did you know that Service Master Restored by Schmader can also do mold remediation? So Cindy is very, very big on getting down and checking in your basement. She recommends going down there minimum of once a month and maybe even more. Look around the edges. A lot of times we use our basement as storage and we just have boxes stacked up. We can't see if there's a problem going on down there, and that is when problems begin to happen. So make sure that you add the basement routine to your routine to get down into the basement and take a look around. Just give it a quick inspection. And if you do have a problem, Service Master Restore by Schmader is here to help. Give Cindy a call, 402-339-9911. And you can start your day right at Brewed Awakening in Avoca. They are open Monday through Saturday, always serving something fresh, including daily bagels, weekly specials that you won't find on the menu, and warm seasonal soups every Tuesday and Wednesday. On Wednesdays and Thursdays, grab a hot breakfast sandwich and treat yourself to something sweet every Friday. So if you're hosting a meeting or a gathering, Brood Awakening has a private room ready for your group, and if you don't need the room entirely to yourself, it's completely free to use. Stop in for great coffee, good food, and a friendly hometown atmosphere at Brood Awakening in Avoca. Thanks again, Joey Norris of Dream Forge, for joining us today. Glad we were finally able to connect, and looking forward to hearing about more of your success stories and helping the local folks in Southwest Iowa achieve their dreams. My name's Todd Studer. We'll see you back here tomorrow morning.